Hello, good evening. Welcome to our Lewiston City Council meeting. We are going to be kicking things off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will be led by Kathy McDonald.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would also like to note that it is Police Memorial Week, and Councilor Pease, for those of us who brought our name tags, have furnished morning bands for us. Thank you very much. If I can have the skills winners join me up front, we will get started with our presentation. Here, let's line up right here and face our audience. And I'm going to hand the microphone off to Matt for a couple seconds, and then, I'm sorry, your name? Jessica, and and we'll kick things off.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, thank you very much for inviting Lewiston Regional Technical Center to be here this evening with you. Jessica Dewin, our multimedia teacher, will be introducing our students that have won medals at the Skills USA competition.
Hi, I'm Jessica Dewin, as I said. Our skills started with over 451 students competing locally in at least 1 to 2 competitions, some 3 and 4. We made it up to the state level. We took 81 students and brought home 52 medals on behalf of LRTC, which was pretty cool. And now we have 5 students headed to Atlanta, Georgia in June to compete nationally. These are some of our medalists here. Nora was in restaurant services. Was that yours? Yes. Faisal, you were in medical math, correct? And then Maggie is one of the students going to nationals for advertising design for the 2nd year in a row. And Asha, is for medical terminology. She won also. So we had a lot of medalists. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Give me 1 second. And now we will have a proclamation. So Lewiston Proclamation recognizing Skills USA gold, silver, and bronze medalists. Whereas the Lewiston Regional Technical Center is a place where passions are pursued, skills are developed, and strong foundations for future success are built. And whereas students from various high schools collaboratively learn and hone their talents and abilities in a variety of career paths. And whereas offerings range from culinary, welding, video game design, medical math, mobile robotics, advertising design, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, automotive repair, to nursing, and the list goes on. And whereas participation in the State of Maine Skills USA competition provides an opportunity for students to showcase what they have learned and to be recognized for their standout abilities. And whereas LRTC gold medalists from the 2023 Skills USA competition are Faith Breyer, Brandon Ritchie, Hassan Abdullah, Hannah Jonjero, Danny Haycock, Mackenzie Fecto, Cade, Langley, Sean McKean, Payson Goyette, Sierra LaLiberty, Natalie Bowden, Kevin Fisher, Colleen McKeon, and whereas silver medalists for the 2023 Skills USA competition are Dylan St. Peter, Matthew Gordner, Brianna Letourneau, Adrian Terrio, Faisal Abdimiran, Marguerite Shepard, Levi Tibbetts, Andrew Broadbent, Trevor McDaniel, Adam Hinckley, Xavier Hood, and Gretchen Parody. And whereas bronze medalists for the 2023 Skills USA competition are Hunter Lynch, Daniel Fitzpatrick, Thomas Bulldog, Jacob Abbott, Milo Small, Brooke Gervais, Gabrielle Warshawski. Camden McAllister, Hannah Doobie, Elisa Neto, Ava Blanchette, Aisha Abdimasad, Connor Martin, Liam Hutchinson, Abdi Pierre, Richard Karen, Hunter Lizotte, Everett Mayott, Mackenzie Garcia, Devin Bouchard, Michael Harkins, Kevin Delano, Elliot Waltz, Risa Nance, and Nora Johnson. Congratulations to all of them. I think that's over 50 medalists.
Yes, 52.
52, yes. And whereas for that many students to excel within their field is phenomenal, and their achievements are a testament to their hard work, excellent Lewiston instructors, and those who support them and cheer them on. Now therefore, I, Carl L. Shalin, Mayor of the City of Lewiston, do hereby officially recognize the Lewiston Regional Technical Center's 2023 State of Maine Skills USA competition medalists and wish them well as they continue to develop their craft. We're going to line up for a picture. If I can have the council stand, and we'll all get in the photo here.
No, it's all right. You're great.
See everyone? And one more, really quickly. Ready? 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you all.
If I can have Abdi Kadar Shire, please join me. It is my honor to present a Lewiston Leads Award to a man in our community who is recognized by Maine Biz as one of the honorees in the 40 under 40 distinction at the end of last year, and I thought it was only right to recognize his contributions here in his hometown as well. Abdi Kadar Shire is the founder and co-executive director of the company AK Health and Social Services, a health nonprofit that provides public health education and outreach to the Maine immigrant and BIPOC communities, while also addressing food insecurity, literacy, workforce development, voter education, and many other pressing issues in the Lewiston area. Featured by Anderson Cooper's 360 CNN show in the height of the pandemic, Abdi Kadar and his work with AK Health was recognized for their vaccine clinics and door-to-door outreach in the immigrant community here in Maine. Abdi Kadar's advocacy work at AK Health has impacted many people in Lewiston and beyond and sets a standard for how to support your local community. As a former refugee himself, Abdi Kadar is acutely aware of the needs of new Mainers and uses the platform of his nonprofit to do good and give back to the Maine community. People like Abdi Kadar Shire represent what makes Lewiston great and are excellent role models for future generations of leaders. I'm honored to present Abdi Kadar Shire with the Lewiston Leads Challenge coin this evening. Congratulations.
Two, one more. 3, 2, 1.
Deputy Clerk, I believe we're ready to begin.
Roll call for tonight's meeting will begin with Counselor from Ward 6.
We are now up to public comment. Any member of the public may make comments regarding issues pertaining to Lewiston City government. This period is reserved for non-agenda items. Public comment is also allowed during individual agenda items. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your name for the record and please indicate if you're a Lewiston resident. Because this is the business meeting of the Lewiston City Council, all questions should be directed to the mayor, who will ask staff to follow up at a future time. It is illegal for the City Council to allow comments related to personnel matters. All personnel complaints should be made directly to the City Administration Office. Those wishing to give public comment, please use the podium.
Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody knows my name is Brother Alfred. I am, I guess you could say, fully ingrained to Lewiston. I live in Lewiston, Maine here on Ash Street. I am here for one reason only, basically as official member and CEO of the National Safe Fatherhood Foundation. What we do usually is our protocol to give the city update, to come to one city council meeting per year after we have our yearly meeting with our board of directors, to give them an update of what we are doing or plan on doing within this year. As you know, may not know, the National Safe Father is an advocate for father's safety, mental, physical, and financial safety within the fatherhood and family community. We have just added a free tablet program that we partnershiped up with another company, which is based in Lewiston, that is you remember they were doing tablets out there. We partnership with them to basically help our fathers across the nation that might have communication issue to de-stress the situation. We also have Mr. Clark, who is our mental health basically coach. He also deals with financial instructions and coaching. He's on the board of directors. Please, if you do have any questions about what I'm saying, please go to nsfatherhood.org. Okay? We are trying our best to start our podcast up, but we do have good news for the city which will bring up attention that this is a safe place for fathers to come, and especially when they want to raise their children or if they're single fathers themselves. Remember, our key is if we can make a good father, that makes a good husband. Because if he can make a good child, then guess what? Then we have a good husband. So it's not a one-sided thing. So please understand that. We are trying to do what we can to try to, get the funds up financially, but as you may know, fundraising is really hard, especially seeing I'm not a multi-million-dollar mogul or anything like that. But then this time, I'm just like to probably yield my last bit of my 3 minutes, and to ask you all if we can have another look at maybe seeing if we can get support from the police department and with the parking with the masjid up on Bartlett. We are having some issues. I'm also a representative for the Islamic community. We were really, there's a communication issue there.
Please wrap up, sir. Your
Yes.
time is over.
All right, if there's, if that can be something that we can look into, please give a call back. My phone number is 207-719-0346. If you have any questions on anything I have said. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment?
My name is Mark Blay. I'm a resident of Lewiston. I'm also on the airport board. In recent events at the airport, I just want to clarify a few things. One of the things that was mentioned was a possible grant assurances from the FAA would be in violation of the way the board was structured. That was based on a report by FBO Partners. A couple of weeks ago, maybe months, we had a gentleman from the FAA come to the airport in an open session and describe what grant assurances were. After that discussion, he asked question and answers. I literally took the FBO report, opened it to that page, read word for word what Doug Wilson wrote in his report, which is being referred to as the problem with the airport composition, word for word. The gentleman from the FAA said, no, that is not a factual statement. It's misleading, and it's not correct. So to use this as an excuse to reorganize the board is not factual. The other reason would be conflict of interest. Conflict of interest, pilots using the airport is considered a conflict of interest because they're on the board. Well, if any councilman decides that they're going to lower your taxes, is that not a conflict of interest? If you lower the taxes for everybody, it lowers it for yourself? This doesn't make sense. I had a long discussion today with somebody that enlightened me what conflict of interest is, and let me explain what I think is a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is when somebody works for the economic development department of a city, also sits on the board of the airport, and then tries to sell land for $15,000, 15 acres. After I spoke up, the land actually sold for $300,000. Now, that $300,000 doesn't go to the city, it goes to the airport board, airport function as a land fund. In my opinion, that person was acting in conflict of interest because it didn't have the interests of the airport. He was working for the city of Auburn, not for the airport. So as far as the board composition and conflict of interest, I think you really need to look at that and analyze what is actually a conflict of interest. AOPA is a national organization that supports airports. They have a really good study on the composition of an airport, and they suggest 7 to 9 and at least 2 pilots. Now, I'm not saying pilots, but at least people that are in aviation.
Please wrap up, sir. Your time is up.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Public comment is now closed. Madam Deputy Clerk, I understand we have a consent agenda.
Yes, consent agenda tonight consists of 8 items. Item number 1, amendments to the excavation and street opening policy. Item number 2, amendments to the streets and sidewalk occupancy policy. Item number 3, adoption of a new city policy regarding driveway opening standards for work pertaining to new and rebuilt driveway work completed in the right-of-ways during and after construction. Item number 4, order authorizing the city administrator to execute a collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council Number 93, Local 145800, on behalf of Lewiston Public Works Unit. Item number 5, order authorizing the city administrator to execute a collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council Number 93, Local 145800, on behalf of Lewiston Professional Technical Unit, Local 3855. Item number 6, order authorizing the city administrator to execute a collective bargaining agreement with the Maine Service Employees Association. Item number 7, order establishing the 2023 festival zones for the Great Falls Balloon Festival, the Dempsey Challenge, accepting and appropriating $229,500 from the traffic signal operations and, my mistake, the Dempsey Challenge, the Liberty Festival, and the Lewiston Farmers Market. Item number 8, resolve accepting and appropriating $229,500 for the traffic signal operation and maintenance trail project funding from the Maine Department of Transportation.
May I have a motion?
Move for passage.
Councilor Pease, followed by Councilor Clement. Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
And with that, we're up to agenda item number 9.
Number 9. Item number 9, public hearing on a renewal application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for the Lewiston Recreation Department, 65 Central Avenue. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment for the Lewiston Recreation Department, 65 Central Avenue.
May I have
So
a motion? Councilor McCarthy, followed by Councilor Pease. Discussion? Public comment. Back to the council. Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6,
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5? Yes. Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Agenda item number 10.
Item number 10, public hearing and adoption of order approving outdoor entertainment event permits for various summer community events. Requested action, to conduct a public hearing on applications for outdoor entertainment event permits and to adopt the order approving outdoor entertainment event permits for various summer community events.
May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Councilor Clement, followed by Councilor Harriman. Discussion? Councilor Jelinas.
Thank you. Just said it again, but I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It's nice to see this list of activities, the diversity of the activities, and all the things happening. So I'm really happy to support this.
Public comment? Back to the council? Yeah, I agree. Can't wait for this summer. Further comment? Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Agenda item number 11.
Number 11, public hearing and final passage for an amendment to the Appendix A of the Code of Ordinance Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 2 definitions. Requested action, that the proposed amendment to Article A of the Code of Ordinances Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 2 definitions receive final passage by a roll call vote.
May I have a
So
motion,
moved.
please? Councilor McCarthy, seconded by Councilor LaChapelle. Do you want to kick us off, Director Hediger?
Sure. I guess I'll look to the council how much discussion they want to have on these items. But the first one you have before you is an amendment to Article 2 definitions, where we're making reference to a new use of neighborhood restaurant and deleting the definition of home occupation that's being referred to now in the performance standards of Article 12.
Discussion? Public comment? Back to the council. Councilor Clement.
Mr. Mayor, if we might, on these, we've gone through all of these once. If there is anyone after we go to public comment that wishes to discuss it, I would suggest we proceed in that fashion. We have a rather lengthy agenda tonight, so.
He's suggesting we go directly to public comment rather than council public comment.
One comment
Oh, I
period
see.
for the council, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that is, yeah, I appreciate that suggestion. Further discussion on this agenda item? Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5? Yes. Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Agenda item number 12.
Number 12, public hearing and final passage for an amendment to the Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 3, Official Map. Requested action, that the proposed amendment to Article A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 3, Official Map, as shown on proposed map, receive final passage by a roll call vote.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilor Harriman, second by Councilor Pease. Anything you'd like to say?
You folks initiated this amendment on the 4th and went to the planning board for recommendation. This will take a property that's split zoned between 3 zoning districts, make it 1 zone of office residential, which in a following action will now become neighborhood business.
Public comment? Back to the council.
I just have one question.
Councilor McCarthy?
I see it was a 6-1 vote by the planning board. What was the opposition by the one that voted against it? Do you know?
That concern was, the one member actually wanted to remain LDR along Old Lisbon Road in response to some of the comments received from the public.
Okay. Thank you.
Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Agenda item number 13.
13, public hearing and final passage for an amendment to the Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 11, District Regulations. Requested action that the proposed amendment to Article A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 11, District Regulations, receive final passage by a roll call vote.
May I have a motion, please? Counselor Pease, second by Counselor Harriman. Anything, Director Hediger?
This is the change to the space and bulk matrix and the zoning use table where office residential is now being amended to neighborhood business. There's a couple space and bulk changes with that we discussed last time where there's this hierarchy of the zoning where we felt it was appropriate to make changes to slightly increase the density in that zoning district.
Public comment? Back to the council. Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 14.
Item 14, public hearing and final passage for an amendment to the Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 12, Performance Standards. Requested action that the proposed amendment to Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 12, Performance Standards, receive final passage by a roll call vote.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Counselor McCarthy, second by Counselor Pease. Director Hediger?
This is a change to add some language to be consistent with DEP with respect to stormwater, and the bigger substantive change is the home occupations. We removed that out of the definition section. We added it here as performance standards, where we'll have three categories of home occupations, where it eliminates the need for a permit for very simple home occupations, and those that might be potentially have an adverse impact, they'll go to the Board of Appeals to get approval. And then there's one in between where we just still issue a permit, but it gets handled in-house.
Public comment? Back to the council. Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 15.
Item 15, public hearing and final passage for an amendment to the Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 13, Development Review and Standards. Requested action that the proposed amendment to Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 13, Development Review and Standards, receive final passage by a roll call vote.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Counselor Jelinas, second by Counselor Pease. Director Hediger?
Again, same as the last one, where we had to make a change to be consistent with DEP stormwater rules, cross-referencing their language.
Public comment? Back to the council. Counselor Scott?
I just want to thank the planning board and your whole department for all this work that's being done. There's been a lot of changes and a lot of updates, and I think we're doing some good work here, so thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5? Yes. Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much, Director Hediger.
I don't know what to do. It's 7:30. I'm not prepared to leave yet. You know, it's just like,
Work on the rooming house.
I would encourage you to go home and ask your wife what she would like you to do. Item number 16.
Item 16, resolve making an appropriation for the water, sewer, and stormwater budgets for fiscal year 2024. Requested action, to approve the resolve making an appropriation for the water, sewer, and stormwater budgets for fiscal year 2024.
May I have a motion? Counselor Pease, second by Counselor Harriman. Discussion? Public comment?
I think this might be for Chairman for the Third Ward, but Ash Street water is, especially the hot water, has been coming out like white. I've made it clear to my landlord, and that has not been there. So I don't know if it's a city issue, a worldwide issue. I don't have access to everybody in the whole neighborhood. But that's something that I think should be looked into because my cousin, who's a plumber, is there. So I don't know if it's something with the budget or it's something like that. Maybe the piping needs to be done over.
Deputy Administrator O'Malley, can you hand him my card? And if you'll email me, we will check with Public Works.
Okay, but that's what I feel. I think it may be enough money there.
The water and sewer superintendent is here, and I think he made a note of it as well.
Oh, well, we're moving along very quickly. Thank you. Public comment is now closed. Back to the council. Sorry, what was it? Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 17.
And 17, order approving the option with the Lewiston Auburn Area Housing District Authority to acquire 860 Lisbon Street, Lewiston, Maine. Requested action to approve the order approving the option agreement with the Lewiston Auburn Area Housing Development Authority and its terms, and the city administrator is authorized to execute the option agreement and attend paperwork substantially in the form presented.
Councilor LaChapelle, second by Councilor Harriman. Do you want to kick us off, Director Jeffers?
Sure. This is the option agreement the council took action on about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, asking that we come into agreement with Lewiston Housing. They'll be doing business under the Lewiston Auburn Area Housing Development Corp., which is a subsidiary of them. In a nutshell, they'll be building up to 69 units in 2 phases. They look to have financing by they'll be applying for it this fall. They hope to start construction next spring in June, with July in 2025. That'll be the first 36 units. They'll follow with a second phase, same time frame. There is some uncertainty regarding how much is available for Maine Housing. They're still putting together their program, so we cannot guarantee the financing will be there, but it seemed like 2 years when Chris Comeri was here presenting, he had said we'll be going at it hard. So we thought it made sense to do a 2-year option, and it also will require that they start demolition in October. If we do the option now, that'll be 4.5 months that they need to start. When he was here, he had said he would start within 4 months. When asked if how long it would take, he had thought it would be about a month, and they'll have 2 months to complete it. So the building should be down by December 1st of 2023.
Discussion? Councilor Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what happens if they go there and they tear the building down, they clear all the stuff within the 4 months, and a year down the road, they still can't get their funding, 2 years down the road, they still can't get their funding? Who picks up that cost, and what happens to the agreement?
After 2 years, it is not an automatic extension. They would need to come back to the council if they want to continue to try to build it, and the council at that point will have the option of either giving them another shot at it or saying we're done, and if we want the real estate back, we would need to reimburse them what they paid for the cleanup and demolition and taxes during that 2-year cycle. But we would be able to get site control back at that point.
Well, I don't agree with that part. The reason I don't agree for it is we were willing to do this ahead of time and not have that issue to worry about. They're willing to take it on. That was part of their agreement. They want to get this project going. They should be taking the liability of the, if they don't get the funding, they should eat that, not the city of Lewiston taxpayers. That's why we're doing it this way. We want to make sure that you get housing there, senior housing. We don't want to wait forever, and we don't want to incur costs while they're trying to get funding. That's my comment. Thank you.
Councilor Clement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have several comments on this. First of all, I don't see anywhere in the agreement that there's a 3-year option. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. The idea of demolition, I would have no problem with extending that to December 31st. Give them ample time. But if that building is not down by December 31st, then they would be in default of the agreement, and they'd be subject to the reconveyance clause in the agreement. And I don't see us doing anything other than perhaps paying up to 50% of the costs of abatement, demolition, disposal. Taxes will be in perpetuity as long as they own that place, no rebates. And that's the way I'll vote on this tonight. We've gone round and round. I think we're into, at least two of us on this council are into year 4 of dealing with this. And you can't operate in a no-risk environment. And that's what this is asking us to do. They want to operate in a no-risk environment. If they fail, then it's all on us. I don't agree with that at all. Thank you.
Councilor Harriman?
Thank you. I'm just glad to see this moving forward again, so we can get some desperately needed housing built. I thought we had sorted this out at the last meeting when we discussed this, and this agreement represents what I thought we had agreed to at the last meeting here. I think the amount of time there, until December 1st is adequate, as Mr. Kilmurray mentioned before, and I appreciate that we have the right of, I don't know if you call it right of first refusal, but if nothing happens within the time period, we get the property back. So again, I'm happy to see this moving forward. Thank you.
Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the last meeting. I was sunning myself in Punta Cana, so I wasn't here. One of the things to take into consideration, there was a lot of hoopla over this extension. There was a lot of disinformation about the council and our goals and objectives. There was a lot of bad stuff that went around. One of the things to consider, though, through all of this, Lewiston Housing, instead of having to pay $129,000 for the property, they're paying $1. So they've already benefited from this, the way this extension happened. And I think that it's only fair that we, I go along with Councilor Clement's idea of only 50% rebate on the demolition costs, because if it was anyone else, they'd be taking on the responsibility themselves with no recourse. So I don't see why we should, we can bend some, but I don't think we should bend over backwards when it comes to some of the details. I don't think the city should have to absorb it all. Thank you.
Director Jeffers, can you explain for myself and the public, so this is an option to purchase?
This is an option to purchase. It's basically saying you do need to apply for financing with this next round. To be competitive for that, they should really take it through planning board review this summer, get approval. For that, that'll add points when they're applying for the tax credits in the fall. They should know by the turn of the year whether or not they were successful. They were successful the last time they did it, but it's a new day, different projects they'd be competing against, but they anticipate they'll score well with it. If they score well, they should be able to break ground by next June. And if they are not successful, the way the option was written, again, coming back to the conversation we had, somebody had to do what you were doing, Councilman McCarthy, and I'm glad you were the guy. But there was, quite a bit of discussion about it. I mean, seniors are here; they want to see this project built. It's been 3 years for a variety of reasons, mostly related to COVID. They were not able to go forward with delays and not being able to get the project brought online in time. They gave the tax credits back. They would like to go at it, but we did not want the council, it was clear, did not want to say, here, you got 3, 4, 5 years to do it. It's like, get it done in 2, or we're back to square one. I understand what the council's saying regarding demolition costs not necessarily being reimbursed. That was part of the discussion last week, a few weeks back, but that's up to you. That this was intended to be a $1, so there is no cost. It's not $129,000, as Councilman McCarthy said. They will get it for $1. The demolition cost would be on them. Council really wanted to see this down. Based on what was said at that meeting, it should be able to be down by December 1st. It actually gives them a little more room. It gives them about 5.5, 6 months to get it down. And they don't have to wait till October 1st to do it. They could start sooner if they like. But it's really at the council's purview. I tried to reflect the discussion, but it's really your call on exactly the terms of the option agreement.
And this option agreement, one of the reasons, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that one of the reasons that this is an option agreement is to allow us to kind of claw back the property if these milestones aren't met. This is not simply them just purchasing it for $1.
Well, I mean, once they sort of hit those triggers, if they get the finance and they've got the planning board approvals, they've made so it would be intended to be conveyed.
Right.
Once they hit those thresholds. But if they don't ultimately get the financing, we would be able to get it back. And the way it was written, although it doesn't sound like there's a unanimous feeling on the council about it, the way it was written was if we reimbursed for the demolition costs, cleanup costs, and taxes paid during that time frame.
Right, since this was an option to buy, not an option to purchase.
I don't think there's not really a distinction. I mean, it's an option, and once you've exercised your option, you close, you own it.
Right. Okay. Councilor Jelinas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Jeffers, for the summary here, and outlining some of those key elements. When I read over it, it seemed like a very accurate representation of the discussion that we'd had at the council level. So thank you for that. I'll certainly be voting in favor of this tonight because, to my colleague from Ward 6's point, this has been going on a long time, and people want this project to happen. I guess I think of, as you're doing some of these things, it's sort of like full disclosure. It's not like doom and gloom and, oh my gosh, this isn't going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's, I'm looking at this as like you're just offering up some full disclosures. And so I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Councilor Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to point out that 2 years down the road, how many of us really know that we're going to still be on this council? The new council coming in, they may have a totally different idea. And if we don't dot all the i's and cross the t's now, we're going to pay for it later. I just want to make sure that that's stated somewhere in there, in that agreement. Whether it be 50% of recourse, payback, or time, or whatever. It needs to be in here. Thank you.
Councilor Clement.
Mr. Mayor, I propose 2 amendments, actually I think 3 amendments to the entire situation here. First of all, we have a council order. The operative clause number 8 in that order be changed to read, if LAA HDC, Lewiston Auburn Housing Development Corporation, does not secure financing for the project, as outlined in the Martell School Option Agreement dated May, whatever, and I assume that might be tonight, attached hereto and incorporated by reference herein, or should fail to perform according to the terms of this agreement, the city reserves the right to reacquire the property by providing 90-day notice of this intent and by reimbursing LAA HDC the purchase price and up to 50% of the verified costs of abatement, demolition, and/or disposal incurred during ownership. I would like under number 10, reference the time frame for demolition to be extended to December 31st, because part of this would be if they don't get it down by December 1st, we could exercise right of reconveyance. So I want to give them plenty of time, not knowing what they might run into. And then under the actual agreement itself, number 13.3. Such work, that's the final page of the whole thing. Such work shall be paid for without, this is the final sentence of 13.3. There are 2 sentences that precede that. Such work shall be paid for without financial assistance and shall be completed no later than December 31st, 2023, or LAA HDC shall be in default and shall be subject to a penalty of $1,000 per day until such default is cleared, or they reconvey said real estate to the city under the terms of reconveyance referenced in Article 15 of this agreement, which would read the 3rd and final sentence: the city may exercise the city option within 90 days of the financing deadline by providing written notice to LAA HDC and the city shall pay a purchase price of $1 plus up to 1/2 or 50% of any verified costs and expenses for abasement, remediation, demolition, and cleanup in connection with the real estate and project as documented by LAA HDC's paid invoices provided to the city. And I will just state at this point, I'm all for this project. I've been for this project since 2020, yes. There's been delays, and I will say right up front that some of these are not Mr. Kilmurray's fault. But I don't want to see this drag on. I don't want to see this go for 3 years. 2 years, it's over. If the building is not down by December 31st, it's over, and we move on. That's where I stand on this, and that's the way I'll vote tonight, and I thank you. I've offered that as an amendment, just those items as an amendment. I have it in written form if need be.
Do we have a second on that amendment?
Second.
Councilor LaChapelle seconded it. Discussion. Councilor Harriman?
Thank you. So I can't support any of these amendments. I mean, we came to an agreement at our last meeting, and I feel like if we renege on our agreement, that's just going to send the message that some people have of the city of Lewiston, that it's hard to do business and hard to develop here. I think this is the definition of that, to come to an agreement and then at the final hour start adding a bunch of different changes that we haven't discussed. I'd be fine with moving forward with what we agreed on previously and try to get this off the ground sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Councilor LaChapelle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify a few facts, we did not come to an agreement the last meeting. We asked that Mr. Kilmurray speak with staff and come to the agreement and formulate. We had a rough draft of what to do, and that's moving forward from there. So there was no signed agreement. There was a rough draft, and I understand from Director there were some changes from Mr. Kilmurray's side also. I would love to have the opportunity to hear from Mr. Kilmurray and get his side on his feelings on it. And I don't want this to become an adversarial situation. I'm thrilled that we're talking 4 years extension in the executive session. Now we're talking 2 years, which is fantastic. I see Mr. Kilmurray has the options to add more housing if the funds are available. Definitely put as many on there as we possibly can. And yeah, I'm excited to get it going, so I'd love to hear from Mr. Kilmurray.
Yeah, no, I was planning on bringing him up in a second. So, yeah, I mean, I have real concerns about the way this is, about, what's transpiring right now. So, we, at the last meeting, we had an agreement that staff would work with Mr. Kilmurray to develop an option to purchase, which is what we have before us, and staff is okay with this, otherwise they would not have brought it forward. Mr. Kilmurray and Lewiston Housing is okay with this, otherwise it wouldn't be on the agenda. And now, the council is now second guessing a lot of what's in here, and I just think it's completely inappropriate, and it does send wholly the wrong message.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Clement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no agreement. Councilor LaChapelle stated it correctly. We had a general discussion. I, too, would like to hear from Mr. Kilmurray. I would also like to hear from Director Jeffers as to the negotiations that took place. It's my understanding that there was severe pushback during these negotiations for extensions. We don't want extensions. I want this project to move forward. I want to see the senior housing. We have committed to that. Councilor Jelinas and I committed to that back in 2020 when the first option came up. We committed to that strongly then and throughout this process. Not trying to delay the process, I'm just trying to make sure that this process moves along to the agreed upon terms. Now, we did not have an agreement as to terms. There was negotiation. Staff is not in a position to authorize anything. They can present a recommendation. It is up to this body to decide whether or not that recommendation is made into an agreement, an order, or anything else. And to call it inappropriate in some of the other terms, I think is bordering on violation of an agreement we had earlier this year, sir. But I can hold off on the amendment, listen to what Mr. Kilmurray has to say, but at some point, that language is going to come back, and we'll put it up for a vote, and it'll live or die by that vote. I don't want it to die. I want it to go ahead, but I want some assurances that it's going to move forward on a specified schedule. Don't want any surprises. We've had too many of them on this already, and I thank you.
Councillor Pease, did you have anything else to add?
No, that's basically where I was going with it. Thank you.
Councillor Scott.
Thank you. So here's my concern. I don't disagree with specified things like you're just suggesting. I will have to tell you, though, I don't remember everything that you just read, and that I'm concerned about. I would need to see that. So my question would be, how does that affect, and I do want to hear from Mr. Kilmurray as well, on how that would affect this, but how does that affect us having a vote on this tonight? I would not be comfortable with voting on it tonight with amendments that I don't remember that you just said. Honest to God, I just would have a difficulty with that. So, but I want to know how that's going to affect the whole process all the way around. I personally feel, I agree, but it's in here, it is written in here that it's to be torn down by December 1st. That's part of the agreement. If he signs that agreement and doesn't fulfill that, doesn't that negate the agreement because he signed this option agreement? And that would be my question. Because if it's written in here already for that, and I don't disagree with some of the other stuff as well, but that is already written in here. If that is not fulfilled by Lewiston Housing or by the LAAHDC, and he's signed this option, would that negate it?
It would be subject, and I would also include the director as well, if he signed it, obviously. The amendment that the counselor has proposed, there is no penalties currently built into that
Correct.
agreement.
Right.
So that would be something that would be part of the amendment. At that point in time, the council would need to decide what the default action would be.
So if we agreed to those amendments, we would have to decide what the default action would be tonight to have that go through?
If the amendments are not part of that, and he doesn't demolish it by that date, at that point in time, we provide him notice that he's in default, and then we go from there.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, why Mr. Kilmurray is speaking, I can offer to, I believe the counselor said he had copies. I can make copies because we didn't get it all either.
Okay.
I would appreciate that so I can read it.
Absolutely. I'm just going to, before I ask Mr. Kilmurray to come forward, I just want to make sure the councilors have all had a chance to chime in. Did you? No. Okay. Councilor McCarthy, did you have something?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. One of the things we have to take into account on all of this is we could have gone out for another request for proposal and allow everybody in on it. The deal with Lewiston Housing Authority had been ended, and we're restarting it. So I see no reason to, I'm not concerned about adding into this agreement the amendments that Council Clement has put forward because, I think we've bent over backwards. We're giving them the land, and we did not go out for an RFP to get proposals from other people, which opened the door for them to do pretty much. I don't think we held them to a real high standard. I think this is reasonable. Is it unreasonable to put a penalty clause like the Councilor Clement is proposing, the $1,000 a day or whatever? Is that abnormal in a contract?
I would look more to Public Works, where I will often see that is in construction contracts, where, especially on a project like this, where you've got tax credits need to be put in place, people need to be starting to live in these houses. Contractor says it will be delivered by this date, and if they do not deliver it by that date, there is often a $1,000 or whatever the penalty may be. whether it's on a housing project, whether it's on a big construction project, road project, something that's really deadline-driven. I was trying to follow what Councilor Clement was saying. It was a little nuanced. Here in this, it's more on construction contracts, in my experience, than in purchase and sale agreements.
Yeah, basically, he's giving them an extra month to tear it down, but then holding their feet to the fire if they don't. And I think that's a fair trade-off. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Councilor LaChapelle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess it's not necessarily just the building coming down, it's the project going up, which is the major concern. Excuse me as I pass papers down. Yes, there's 2 pages. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's right. And can we provide one for Mr. Kilmurray? Thank you. One of my concerns is not necessarily definitely bringing the building down, but in the process of getting the financing and moving forward, originally there was a discussion that it would be a 4-year delay, an executive session, a 4-year delay. Then I'm sorry, it's my turn to speak.
Please proceed, Councilor LaChapelle.
And then and then when it came out, when Mr. Kilmurray came back, I was thrilled that he had the ability to go down to 2 years, which is fantastic. My concern is we get after 2 years, nothing's done, the building's down, nothing's done. There's no financing in sight, or because they might have a couple other large projects they're working on, or whatever the case may be, that we come back to the council and they say, we need another 2 years. Well, that puts us right back to square one, like Councilman McCarthy said, it was like the 4-year delay. We waived. I was the one that made the proposal of giving the land away. I just wanted it. The original, and Councilman McCarthy pointed it out, was for approximately $129,000 for the piece of property. So we're talking approximately $300,000 to $300,000 to $400,000, I believe was the quote, to tear down and remove all the rubbish on it. I'm concerned on delays, and if it's because of unforeseen stuff that happens, that's a different story. If it's because they have too many major projects they're working on and they didn't have time to work on this one, that's frustrating to me. And basically for wasting our time for another 2 years on not getting this project going. So for them to pay the $150,000 approximately, just holds fire to their feet to get them motivated to get this thing going. I'm all in favor of it. I proposed adding more units than they have, eliminating green space, whatever it takes to get this thing going. I just want to get it moving, and I don't want to be in a situation in 2 years where saying, well, we can't do it, we need another delay. Oh, that delay is going to cost. It has to have a cost associated with it. Thank you.
Councilor Harriman?
Thank you. Has this been vetted by staff or by legal counsel?
You got it when we got it.
Okay. I would definitely have concerns going forward with that. I mean, one major issue I see right off is up to 50%. That means zero. If you go by the language, up to 50% means zero. So that's one issue. And I would just like to have this, just seeing it now, I wouldn't be comfortable voting on this right now. Thank you.
Further comments from the council before I bring up Director Kilmurray. Councilor Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I wasn't clear enough with what I was saying. Is if we give them a deadline to tear the building down and they don't get it torn down, that's one thing. Financing is different. Anybody can come back and say, look, we need an extra month to get this place torn down. We're gonna penalize them for that? Or are we gonna take a building back? What, you know, we gotta use some common sense here too. I think Mr. Kilmurray originally stated that they would do this, tear this down, have it cleared, ready, so as soon as they did get financing, they could go ahead with the project. If it takes them a year to get the financing, I think that's being a little drastic on my part as far as saying they have to turn the building back. I want to give them the opportunity, but I don't want to strap their hands either.
That's not what it says.
Or Councilor Clement, did you have something further?
Just briefly, to the gentleman's concern in Ward 3, up to 50% when meaning from 0 to 50%. We could negotiate anything in between. I mean, if they can't provide us with invoices that verify the costs, I'm not in favor of paying them a dime. A guy can say, you owe me $100,000. Give me some proof. That's all I'm saying. And if it needs to go before legal counsel to satisfy the gentleman, I would have no problem with tabling this to a next meeting. But I think we need two things in here, and that is a finite date for demolition of the property, a penalty of some sort if the property is not demolished, and the final penalty would be if there is no financing at the end of the 2-year period, then we reconvey, or the property is reconveyed to us, and we can move forward with somebody that can perform. That's all I'm looking for. I want to get this project off the ground. We can sit here and kibitz and argue for months. Let's get the project going. And let's make sure that there is some protection for the city of Lewiston in this. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we've heard, I think, from most everybody. Director Kilmurray, if you can please join us here at the front. And Dave, I assume these mics are going to be on?
They are.
I guess, yeah, please give us your thoughts on all of this.
Couple things. One, this is.
If you can just move the mic a little closer to you. Thank you.
There's a couple things here. This agreement is a little unorthodox as to how options are usually handled. This actually isn't an option. We're buying the property, we're taking all the risk, we're taking it off your insurance, we're putting it on the tax rolls. That was one of the things that you guys had some concerns about. Normally an option, you hold the property until such time you have financing in place and then you move forward with buying it. So it's already more advantageous for the city to go down this path, and we're taking a lot of risk in doing that. It is not a no-risk environment. It takes hundreds of thousands of dollars to put together a 9% tax credit application. So adding on another potential $200,000 on top of that as a penalty, should we get outscored by other people in a scoring process of which we have zero control over, seems inappropriate. And what else did we have in there? Oh, as far as buying it for $1, that wasn't my idea. It got offered up to other people for $1, and I thought, why not get offered that same thing to me? That was done in other meetings by counselors to other groups that wanted it, so it just seemed fair to go down that road. And I believe those are all the comments that came up pertaining to this. This is not a, we're taking a lot of risk with this. This is not a slam dunk for us in any way, shape, or form, and we will be out hundreds of thousands of dollars if this doesn't happen in 2 years. I've got a copy of it, doesn't matter. I would also add that, we were delayed a couple of weeks on getting this thing in the first place. We had about 2 days or 3 business days to go back and forth with legal to have conversations about it. I have to get applications together for our pre-app by July, mid-July. Our backs are up against the wall. Timing is incredibly tight on the first round here, so it's, financing, the window is about this big right now for us to get there. So one little thing goes wrong, we're gonna get one bite at the apple on this if we can't get our package together. And if this gets delayed, there's a good chance that we will not get that package together at that time, because I can't sign a contract with anybody on moving forward with this, particularly architects, which I need to have in place in order to get preliminary plans put together to send to Misha for our pre-applications. I believe that addressed all of the comments.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the city administrator. Can we accept these amendments and vote passage on this pending approval by legal?
I would not recommend it because if there are significant language changes, it would need to go back to. And what my definition of language changes and yours as a council may be two different things.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Harriman?
Thank you. I guess these amendments also bring up the issue of fairness with the other party to the agreement having just received them as well, and not, they haven't been able to consult with their legal counsel. If they need to consult with their board, that's just another wrinkle that these amendments add to the issue.
Councillor Clement?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I look through this agenda item number 17, it asks that we approve an order approving the option of Lewiston Auburn area. The memo from Economic Development refers to the Martell School option, and the agreement refers directly to option agreement. It doesn't say anything about a purchase and sale. You have 6 months, as I read this, to exercise an option on this property, subject to the terms. Okay? It's not a purchase and sale. I understand you're taking risks, so is the city. We have delayed this for now 4 years. Not all of which is due to us, not all of which is due to you. But there's been a combination of events that have occurred that have prevented this thing from moving forward. We have people in the city that are demanding this project be built. I don't blame them. I am in favor of it. But by the same token, you'll fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. You know, it's just a situation that I don't think we should be allowing any, I guess for a lack of a better term, wiggle room. This should be finite, and if we can't agree to it, then we have other options we can move on to. But I would like to see this move forward. I would just like to see an agreement on the terms of demolition and on the term, and I can reword this very briefly, I'm sure, but the terms of demolition would be a finite period. There would be a clawback in that, and then the option for up to 2 years to finance the project. If you can't get it in year 1, you can apply in year 2. If you don't get it in year 2, game over. That's as simple as I can put it. Thank you.
Councillor LaChapelle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Director Kilmurray, do you feel that you need the extra time for the demolition of the building? Is December 31st helpful, or doesn't really matter? Or?
It's always helpful to have a little extra time if needed, but I don't know that that's the sticking point in this. It's, for me, it's neither here nor there. If you guys are going to ask for a clawback that is not equal to the amount of money that we have expended, I can't go forward with this.
Well, it's you that's asking for the clawback. So on Article 15, and I was saying that, Section 15, saying that at the sole discretion to require LAHDC to convey the real estate to the city of Lewiston, the city may exercise the city option within 90 days, financing deadline, providing written notice, blah, blah, blah. And it's saying, plus any costs, expenses incurred by LLHDC for abatement. So it's you that's asking for the clawback from the city, or asking for your money back.
And you're asking for the property back. And you
Okay.
offered the same compensation to the gentleman who also had the offer on it before, the same amount, the $400,000 to them. So I'm confused why.
Actually, no, because he was going to pay for it.
And then you were
He
going to
was
hand them
gonna-
the equivalent amount
he was
back
gonna
in the
pay.
deal. I'll take that too, if
Oh,
you'd like to go that way with it.
Okay, so we're going to get into a debate, or?
We're not going
Such
to.
arrogant.
Councillor, thank you.
No, it's my option right now. I have the floor. Do I not, Mr. Mayor?
I'm just asking everyone to take a breather, and then yes, please continue.
Okay. I'm not here to debate with you. We don't have to like each other. I really don't care. The arrogance is amazing from you, which is besides the point. I want to get the project going. What will it take to get the project going? I want to know if you can't hold up your side of the bargain and we've wasted another 2 years, is it fair to the citizens of the city of Lewiston and to these senior citizens, because you've dragged your feet, and again, barring any, and I'm reasonable, barring any unforeseen foolishness, that we have to take the hit again? Why, as Councilman McCarthy asked, I'm going to ask you directly, why don't we just put this out to bid?
I've sat here over and over again, and you guys have constantly made these, they're becoming less and less veiled attacks on us and how we move forward in this process. I would say, all right, I'm not going to get into slinging mud here. You offered the exact same deal up to another party that wanted it. If you don't want to move forward with the deal that we negotiated with city council, not with city council, with city staff, I don't have enough time to move forward to go through this process again. And I don't feel comfortable moving forward, putting our resources on and if you don't feel comfortable moving forward, putting your resources out there in the way in which they were put forward, then we are at an impasse. There's no arrogance here from me. This is me just sitting in front of you. You guys have come at me over and over again, and I've sat here while you basically said I was a liar and I didn't get things done on time.
Frankly, you did.
Over and over and over.
You frankly lied in executive session.
No, I did not.
So, yes, you did.
Counsel-
And I'm not going to sit here and allow that to go through. One other question I have for you. Is there any room, if we say, okay, we're saying 50%, if we added, just in that section, plus any costs, minus 20%?
No.
Or, no.
I'm not going to
No.
put more of our resources up for getting clawed back for this, for doing what you guys ultimately need to get done on that property anyway. It does not make sense for us to do that. These are not just resources that are here, these are here for the city as well. Our resources are the city's resources too. We're here to help to provide for the people of the city of Lewiston, just like you're saying you are as well. I get it. If you don't like the deal that we put forward and you guys want to go forward another way, I felt like we negotiated a good deal with Link and his team. I can't wait to go back and forth again, because we're going to lose our ability to move forward with getting this documentation into the state on time to move forward. So
What's the
I
timeline
can't
on
do
that? Might I ask, what is the timeline?
July 25th, I believe, is when we have to have our pre-application into Maine State Housing Authority.
Thank you.
At this point, I would like to go to public comment for this agenda item. And back to the council. Councilor Scott.
So I'm really concerned about how this is all playing out. I got to be honest with you. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. You know, to be honest with you, when I made a question about what staff had done, I was told, and I'm being specific here, I was told that I should be trusting staff on what they do. Staff made an agreement. I don't necessarily agree with everything and the way this has all been put forward from the beginning and how things were done. I have to say, Mr. Kilmary, I did have my concerns as well when some of this was first put forward and some of the conversations that we had. I really did. And I'm not sure that everything has been always in good faith. But that being said, there's an agreement here before us. There's an option here before us. Staff did the work to do that we had the conversation to do. We gave them the opportunity to do it. We either agree, I, at this point, cannot vote for additional amendments or any other language. I read the option. I'm okay with the option. I saw what it says. I'm ready to agree to that, and that's where I sit right now. And I'm done with that. And I would appreciate it as we move forward, and as the city council president, no matter what our disagreement or agreement with a certain person that's sitting before us, we are always amicable and nice to the people sitting before us. That's where I sit on that too.
Councilor Herman, do you want to weigh in?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank city staff for putting together this option language. I think it encapsulated the agreement we came to at our last meeting. And I'm also ready to move forward with the option as presented. Thank you.
Anything further you'd like to say, Director Jeffers?
I did really try to endeavor to capture the conversation, which both Councilors Harriman and Scott have noted, as did Councilor Jelinas. I will say, as far as the timing, to be able to apply for tax credits, we really are at the 11th hour at this point to be able to get in. on the schedule that Maine Housing has. It's a very strident documentation. A lot of things have to happen in a short window, so I would agree delaying this vote to another council meeting would likely result in not being able to be eligible for an application in the January, in the September round for the 9% tax credits.
Further comments from the council? Anything further you'd like to add, Councilor Clement?
Mr. Mayor, in view of the fact that I probably don't have the votes for the amendments as I look around here, I will withdraw the amendments, but I will not vote to approve this option. It's not a purchase and sale, it's an option. Everything about it says option, and I just want to protect the city of Lewiston and its senior citizens. That's my only aim in this whole thing. Thank you.
Madam Deputy Clerk, if I understand things correctly, we will also need the person who seconded the motion to withdraw. So Councilor Clement and Councilor LaChapelle have agreed to withdraw the motion. So now we have the original motion on the table. Is that correct, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Further comments at this time? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With all things that have been said here tonight, it's unfortunate that things got a little heated. But I feel like I've got a gun to my head. Vote it or else. And it's not a good feeling. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't here for the original discussion. I seem to be getting two sides of that discussion. You have one side that is saying, yeah, this is what we talked about, and the other side saying, no, this is not what we talked about. So this is very, very difficult, and it's unfortunate that this wasn't given to us ahead of time, so this could have been taken care of before this meeting. The council should have had more time to review this and make any changes, just like anything else that comes before the council. So to just, there were complaints that Councilor Clement's amendments were thrown in at the last minute. Well, this thing was thrown in it to the last minute to us, as far as being able to make a change if we don't agree with what's in it. So I think this whole process is lacking, and I'm not sure how I'm going to vote. Thank you.
Anything further you'd like to add, Director Kilmurray?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Without further comments from the council, I'm ready to call the vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6.
No.
Counselor from Ward 7.
Yes.
Counselor from Ward 1.
Yes.
Counselor from Ward 2.
Yes.
Counselor from Ward 3.
Yes.
Counselor from Ward 4.
Yes.
Counselor from Ward 5.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 6-1.
Thank you, everyone. Madam Deputy Clerk, I believe we're on agenda item number 18.
Yes. Resolve appropriating funds received from the city's direct participation in the class action lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies who manufactured and distributed opiate-addicting medications and drugs. Requested action to approve the resolve appropriating funds received from the city's direct participation in the class action lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies who manufactured and distributed opioid-addicting medications and drugs for the following items. Project Support U Workers, $166,400. Metal needle box replacements, $1,877. Cash request for the Rally for Recovery, $1,000.
May I have a motion, please? Councilor Pease.
Second.
Second by Councilor Clement. Discussion? Councilor Jelinas.
Thank you. So maybe it's just in the process of making this into a resolve, but my quick question would be, Administrator Hunter, is this the same pot of money that was discussed previously, or is this a second allotment that has come in, a second installment that has come in, rather?
It's the same pot, collective pot of money. We're getting a stream of payment. I believe we have 3 payments up to this point. So we are continuing to get a stream of money. Additionally, there's been a secondary lawsuit that has proceeded with all the pharmacies, the individual pharmacies now. I just signed off on the paperwork to proceed with that as well. So it's a collective pot, it's not individual payments. So,
Okay, so this is the accumulative amount?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Think of it like the drug forfeiture money,
Right.
where we accumulate those money, and these items were, as part of the budget process in the workshop, that they were adjustments to the budget.
All right, I'm okay with that, thank you.
And so it's 166 for Project Support You workers. How many do we have on staff right this second?
Right now, I believe it's still 1. They have continued to try to fill that second position, even looking at a shift differential, and to my knowledge, that has not been filled yet. And I think we talked about it even last week, that they still have not been able to satisfy that one position.
Thank you. Further discussion? Public comment? Back to the council. Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes?
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Agenda item number 19.
Number 19, resolve authorizing the termination of the public art contract with the city, Public Theater, and Nathan Brown, and acceptance of the new proposal by Nathan Brown in partnership with the Verdeas LLC at 124 Canal Street, Lewiston, upon satisfaction of all federal requirements. Requested action to approve the resolve authorizing the termination of the public art contract with the city, Public Theater, and Nathan Brown, and acceptance of the new proposal by Nathan Brown in partnership with the Verdeas LLC at 124 Canal Street, Lewiston, upon satisfaction of all federal requirements.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Yes, so Councilor John is followed by Councilor Harriman. Assistant Director Parker, would you like to kick us off, please?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. I'm before you tonight because last November, we had met to discuss an RFP that was put out for a mural to be constructed on a private property. We received one proposal for the Public Theater by artist Nathan Brown, who's based out of Tennessee. The contract was awarded and was set to begin this May. The concept that was proposed noted that, like most murals, the final draft would go through several renditions to complete a final draft. During that process, right before the artist was to be here in Lewiston, there was some concern from the Public Theater with the final draft, and ultimately the artist and the property owner went back and forth, and were not able to get to agreement on that. The Public Theater has asked for the contract to be terminated at this point, given that there was not agreement on that final mural. The artist has, given that they had already started work, purchased spray paint, made arrangements to come to the city, has asked that, if he could pursue another wall. We were able to find another willing property owner in the Choice neighborhood that did review his style and was willing to do more of an abstract mural, which is his style. They were able to come up with a final draft that they agreed to. This would require some change, a termination of the original contract, which the Public Theater has agreed to and the artist has agreed to, and a willingness to enter into a new contract pending environmental review and final approval from our federal funding partner, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, because this is part of the Choice Neighborhood Planning Grant that the city received back in 2018. So here before you for your consideration of moving forward with this. The artist has completed a final draft. There would be some slight changes once they are on site, just based on the actual conditions of the building that they can't see when they're physically here, or to match, the environment around them. However, generally, this is what you would get. So it is within their, abstract style. Some changes that you see here are sort of trying to add some three-dimensional components in it. So, if you have any questions, please let me know.
I like it. It looks really good. Thank you, Assistant Director Barker. Councilor Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one question. The paints that you're using, are they going to be reflective type paints? Are they going to be something that's, stand right out on you?
Yes, so many of the colors will be bright, but they will not be reflective.
Thank you. I like it.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you. So it's not every day that you get an artist to agree to make a change like this. I know, in having worked with other different artists in our community and different artists throughout the state. So I think we should applaud Mr. Brown for taking the opportunity to still want to do a wall in our community and come forward with a different design. And I'm glad that even though they weren't able to find a compromise that they both found acceptable, that we're willing to be able to still move forward with this and find a place. So I just want to thank you, the department and the artist, for going forward with all of this. Thank you.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, it's an unusual art piece. My thought process, though, is it's not in an ideal position, place. Is that Pine Street?
That is Chestnut Street.
Chestnut Street,
So when
okay.
you're going down Canal Street, you'll see it.
Yeah, okay. Because I really, really was looking forward to something on the theater. I have to fault both sides in this, and I wonder whether we should be getting a new artist instead of a new place. Because I like Lisbon Street is so busy coming into town, it's right there. I'm not a fan of what the public theater looks like at this point in time, and I think a piece of art would really dress it up. So I don't know if that's something we could explore, or if we need to move forward with this, but I would like to see something on the public theater. I mean, is it just the style that they couldn't agree on, or do you have any idea what? Because, I mean, they had to have seen a concept at the beginning.
Yes, correct. So they did go through several drafts before submitting the proposal, which landed on the concept that you saw back in November. However, the artist had intended and wrote into the proposal that it would have some abstract elements. And ultimately, the theater was not comfortable with the addition of the abstract elements when they saw them. So I think it's a mismatch of the artist and the public theater, and some terminology around what that meant. We did talk to the public theater about, trying to find another muralist. Most muralists are actually scheduled out throughout the summer because their season has already started. And so we have done some outreach to different artists to see if anyone is available and able to do it. However, we haven't found that match. So we've expressed, interest in continuing to work with the public theater in some capacity. I mean, this is a funding opportunity that's here now, and the funds need to be spent by the end of the year. But the Public Art Committee has discussed, what to do in the future and looking forward to, because I think everyone is in agreement that that is an amazing building that we would love to see the right art piece on.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Clement.
Just to Councilor McCarthy's concern, that is abstract, to say the least. It is bright. And you probably could see that from both the Public Theater and Pine Street. I think it'll stand out. So, in the interim, until we can get something on the Public Theater.
Councilor Jelinas.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing this forward, Assistant Director Park. I mean, I think, I'm optimistic that something will happen for the Public Theater down the road for sure. But, now, I mean, I actually think this is awesome. I love it, and I love the color it brings to that location even. So thank you for this.
We're going to public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Councilor Pease.
I think this location is pretty good for this type of mural. It's right across from the new dental, there used to be First Federal Bank and back then. Those funds for this mural, all the funds available go to this mural?
Correct. We had allocated in total $24,500 to do a mural project in the city. And so that will be reallocated to this project.
Okay, so, all right, I just wondered if there was going to be some money left over to do another mural
Unfortunately,
next year.
yeah, we have looked into, could we reallocate additional choice planning funds if another opportunity for the public theater could have come up. We were looking into that, but again, that was, would have to be reallocated for something else.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further, Assistant Director Parker?
That is all, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for, I know it wasn't easy. Thank you for your hard work getting this through. Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6.
Yes.
Ward 7.
Yes.
Ward 1.
Yes.
Ward 2.
Yes.
Ward 3.
Yes.
Ward 4.
Yes.
Ward 5.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 20.
Number 20, discussion regarding projects in the proposed FY24 Lewiston Capital Improvement Plan funding.
Mr.
and
Mayor, I
discussion.
appreciate being allocated the discussion time for this. We are scheduled to vote on the LCIP. It's been a few weeks since we had our last discussion on the LCIP and where the projects stand. And at that point, you will notice the top sheet that was dated April 19th. That is kind of where we landed the last time we had this discussion. At that point in time, particularly the 3 school projects that the council had suggested be deferred included Montel exterior upgrades, Geiger Playground, and the district modular upgrades. Since then, the school superintendent has revisited the LCIP with the school committee members, and they are recommending what is dated 5/16, and that is putting those 3 projects back in as authorized projects and cutting the Montello School roofing replacement in half. And school committee member Bruce Damon is here tonight to hopefully help any questions and answers from that discussion.
Yes, well, discussion about LCIP. Councilor Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Damon.
Can you just, sorry, 1 second, Councilor Pease. Can you just come right up to the front? We got your chair and everything.
Mr. Mayor, if I just may
Councilor
put out
Scott.
there that Mr. Damon is the chair of the Facilities Committee for the school committee, which I am also on.
Thank you, Councilor Scott.
Please proceed, Councilor Pease.
Thank you. My question is, it's going to go back to the modulars. What's the need of these modulars?
Well, currently, just about every space that we have within any of the facilities currently is utilized. The modulars are at Longley and at, I think there's a couple of other locations. Modulars don't last. If you don't take care of modulars, they deteriorate pretty quickly. We're utilizing them for some staffing issues at the Longley site, and there are other things like the Geiger Playground. The Geiger Playground, I mean, Geiger is one of our really premier schools, and the playgrounds are really small, and they need to do something to separate some of the littles from the older kids there. That's one of the issues that we really want to address. And the roofing replacement stuff, we look at it, I've been watching LCIP for a very long time. I've only been on the school committee for 4 years, but I was on planning board for 11 years, and during that entire time, I was on the facilities committee for the school department as the representative of the planning department. And year after year after year, we promote LCIP issues that don't get funded. We've got 1 million square feet of roofing. We've got 2 million square feet of space that's occupied for the school department. And year after year, we end up getting a small piece of the LCIP when we have a tremendous amount of the city's investment, and those buildings are critical. When we don't take care of them, it costs much, much more to sustain them and maintain them if we don't keep on top of it. We spent a lot of time this year talking about, where we thought this LCIP should go. The last 2 years, we've been vilified by the planning board, when the planning board has reviewed the LCIP for not being strategic in our requests and going forward. We have intentionally done that in the last 2 years, and we still end up, having some of our stuff not funded. When we look at the total amount of what's being asked in the LCIP, ours is still a small percentage of what the total is. We're talking about almost 2 million square feet of space. We're talking about 5,400 students. We're talking about 1,400 staff. And over the last 14 years, many things have changed. I mean, COVID really set a whole different standard. We have issues as far as indoor air quality. We have issues with security. We have issues with just maintaining a safe environment in many respects for everyone who goes through our doors every day. It costs money. It takes time. And we are, right at the moment, we are utilizing 100% of the space that we have. We still have, even with the addition at the high school, we still have staff there that do not have a permanent room, a permanent location. We added 16 classrooms there, and that didn't effectively solve the problem of having enough space for everyone, every program that we're trying to offer, to have a home. So we felt that our request for this LCIP was really a minimal request, and the postponing the Montello roofing project, part of that is because we're not going to be able to get it done this year anyway. So if we get part of it this year and part of it next year, because this is a 5-year planning document, then we would be able to, in coming years, to get it done. But we need to have that, we need to ensure that the fact that the funding is available to accomplish it. So putting these other projects back, these other projects are shorter-term projects, should be able to be accomplished within the next fiscal year. And those are the ones that we really feel are the most beneficial to the staff and to the students, particularly keeping those modulars in condition so that we can use them, and also that playground addition, really critical in our mindset to the programming that we're trying to do.
Well, my thing is you talk about Longley. It used to be a school, no longer a school, was used for other types of schooling, I should say. Right? The modulars, whose responsibility was it to maintain them? It was the school department.
It's always been the school departments.
And they haven't been maintained?
Well, they, as with a lot of things, they deteriorate over time when there isn't funding to take care of them. And that's been, it hadn't come up in the past. We've sort of hit a critical piece of it. We had a couple of different issues that came up, particularly that particular February day when it was 25 below zero, caused some minor damage. We've got some other stuff that's going on with those buildings. Modulars, as you know, are just, they're not particularly well constructed. So you really have to stay really on top of them to keep them in shape so that they're usable. That space that we are using is critical space that we're using at the moment for staffing, and if we don't have it, then we've really got an issue. Longley is our adult education center. Longley is, part of our homeless outreach program with the store next door. We're utilizing it for a lot of different things. Used to be a school, yes. It's still very much a piece of what the school department is offering to the community. And we need to, make sure that everything that's there, there are some upgrades for that building that need to happen as well. They're not in this particular request, but you'll see them coming along in the future. We don't feel that it's appropriate to allow the infrastructure that the taxpayers have bought and for us to allow it to fall into disrepair. And over the last 14 years, I have seen repeated projects just get pushed off and pushed off and pushed off and kicking the can down the road. And we think that what we have presented here is really an appropriate amount of money when you look at the total expenditure for the LCIP, when you consider the massive amount of real estate that we're trying to sustain and maintain.
Okay, but now, how many of these modulars are we talking about? We're talking, what, 6?
I think there are a total of 6.
6.
Yep.
And the total amount was $500,000, right?
On the modulars, I think so, yeah, yep.
So you're talking almost $100,000 each. How much did these modulars cost? They're just 4 walls and a trailer.
May I?
Sure, go ahead, Linda.
Councilor Scott.
So, Councilor Pease, just to add a little bit more to that whole thing. So the modular units were originally designed to hold students as additional classrooms when there was space needed at these schools. So they are designed to have heat, they have, it's like a full room. It's not just it's built like a square box, but it is a fully designed unit. But it's also kind of like built like a tin, it's almost like those containers that you see people build their houses out of, right? But not necessarily built as well as the container because there is leaking and that sort of thing. These particular modules that are at Longley School have been there since before that school stopped being an elementary school. So they've been there for quite some time, I believe almost 10 years, if not more than that.
I think
And so I know that our facilities director has been maintaining them as well as they can, but I took a little run out there myself. I asked the superintendent if I could take a look at them, and there is some mold issues in some of them. Unfortunately, because of the design that they are, when there is any sort of leak or anything that happens, and that piece that you talked about where that we had that really cold day, that was just one that has happened this year. There has been other times where there has been, so they get some mold in there, and it's very difficult to mitigate that. So that's where some of that is coming from on that particular piece.
I realize that, but my question was, how much are those modulars?
Each right now, I couldn't tell you, I don't know.
Are you thinking that it would be better to replace them?
Instead of fixing?
If you're looking at...
I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but again, part of it is how long does it take to do it? What is the displacement of the staff utilization at the time that you do that? I mean, it has other issues. There are other ramifications to something like that of a replacement of those. Over a period of time, should we replace them? Maybe we should. And maybe if we have this funding, maybe we might look at it from a different perspective. Currently, we're talking about trying to fix what we have, to save what we have, because it's already an investment in what's there.
Right. My thing is, I don't want to put $500,000 into 6 modulars, right, and then 2 years down the road say, we got to replace them. We just spent $500,000 for nothing.
If I might add again, this is not just the Longley schools. When I talked to the superintendent this afternoon, he also referenced some modulars that are at McMahon, one that was at Montello as well, so I don't think that it's just
I think it's one
the
at I
Longley.
think there's one at Geiger as well.
At Geiger.
But that's 6.
Farwell, right, yeah. Yeah, so
So, yeah.
it's more than, it's district-wide. It's not just Longley.
And I just have a hard time spending $500,000 on something that I don't know how much it would cost to replace it. Because if that's the case, if you come back to me and said, hey, we can get them for $150,000 apiece, brand new, I'd much rather give you that money than give you $500,000 and have it gone in a few years.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that have gone on with the part of the delay in maintenance and stuff like that. I think Dingley is a classic example. I mean, there is money in the last year's LCIP to re-roof Dingley. That ends up being a huge amount of money because of the design of the building and the age of the building. And it's a building that the district has outgrown. I mean, we're jammed in there like sardines, and it really, putting the money into Dingley, in my mind, is not necessarily the best investment, but it's something that we have to do in lieu of the fact that we don't have any other place to go. We still have to have district general office, and there's a lot of things that, you know, in the last 3 years, between ARPA money, ESSER 1 and ESSER 2, we have made some significant improvements in several of the buildings. And there's also some continuing projects going forward that are not going to land on the LCIP. And we're trying to do the best we can with managing those funds to ensure the fact that we get the best bang for the buck. And it's a huge challenge just because of the sheer size of the district.
I'm not disputing the other items. I'm just disputing
Yep, I hear you.
those modulars.
If I may, I will find out tomorrow. I'm gonna email tomorrow our facilities director, and I will send an email out to the whole council to find out exactly what the cost would be for a new modular. Because I don't know that answer, but we will find out.
And, well, if we're voting on this tonight.
I know, but.
No, we're not voting on
This
this.
is simply discussion.
Right.
Are we voting it on the 6th, Administrator
We are
Hunter?
voting on at the next meeting on the 6th,
On
yes.
on the 6th, right?
Okay,
So we can certainly get you some information about that. We're more than happy to respond to that.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that the fact that we understood that we had reviewed all of our requests and felt that postponing half of the Montello roof made sense, and some of the others is just more critical from a timing standpoint that needs to be happening, so.
So I understand that. I'm just trying to watch the dollars.
Believe me,
Taxes are
we
not
all-
going down, they're going up.
I understand that, you know, and as, you know, I am sensitive to that. I'm very sensitive to all of that. I'm a senior citizen too, you know, and it's a lot of money, but when you look at what we're trying to do with the sheer number of students, the staff and everything else, you know, not being a significant part of the LCIP on an ongoing basis, and like I said, it's been continuing for a lot of years. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just the reality of the fact that we have underfunded the maintenance and sustainability of our buildings for many, many years, and it is coming back to haunt us. And we're going to see other things that crop up because of that delay in doing some of this stuff. And nothing, as you well know, is getting cheaper. Everything is escalating significantly. And we have some energy efficient projects that we're working on, that we're trying to do to improve the efficiency and the fuel consumption of the buildings. And we have some serious environmental air quality issues in some of the buildings, as we're trying to address those as well. And as you know, mold is a serious issue. And we've got some issues with that in places. That's part of what caused us to actually eventually vacate Martell. There was mold in there that we couldn't get out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cleveland. Thank you, Councilor Pease. yes, this is simply discussion. Now's the time to ask questions, so that way there's time to get answers in order for us to vote on the 6th. Further comments about LCIP? Anything further from you, Administrator Hunter, or
No,
Director Roy?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm all set. Tracy, do you have anything else? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're now, thank you, sorry, Councilor LaChapelle.
You're very welcome. Anytime you
All right,
have
well,
questions,
hold
don't
on,
hesitate.
hold on one second. Councilor LaChapelle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just looking at it, yes, Mr. Damon, no question about it. The school system is very important to all of us. I think that was very evident this year when we voted a 1.34 on the mill rate when the city of Lewiston took 10 cents. So we highly support the school system. We're in a tough situation here, folks. I hear what you're saying. If we're down to the 30-some-odd cents, then we could afford. We have to cut someplace. So just looking at this, we're at $12 million. We're supposed to be at $7 million. There's a big difference. I would, just for conversation, I'd probably get hung by a couple people. The sidewalk maintenance and rehabilitation at $777,000, I'd bring it down to $400,000, and then eliminate Montello School roof replacement, Montello exterior upgrades, Geiger Playground, and the district modular upgrades, and keep in the McMahon roof replacement and the Lewiston High School roof replacement. Even if we eliminated everything from the school department, we're still over that $7 million. We're still over that $7 million. And we've done an awful lot of taking down from the LCIP. We've worked hard to do that. This hurts everybody, and there's no easy way. So I can look at you and say, yes, I understand, we can eliminate a fire department. That's $3 million. We can eliminate, where do you take it from, Bruce? And
No, I
you're
don't.
absolutely right. Yeah, so I would be inclined to go with the McMahon roof replacement and Lewiston High School roof replacement, eliminate the other 4 above it, and bring down the sidewalk maintenance to $400,000. That's my thoughts. I welcome your opinion.
Well, and thank you, Councilor LaChapelle. And to put things in perspective, so of the roughly 12.6 million, 9.5 of that is the city. So yes, even if we eliminate everything from the school, we, the city is 3 times that. Director Brenchick, can you come to the podium and tell us what, if we cut back on sidewalk maintenance, what that looks like? And
I know, Rick, I know. It's not a problem. I have. I've been here for many, many years watching this, as you well know.
I don't even have it. I can answer this as best I can because I don't have my capital book, but even if I did, I wouldn't be able to cross-check which sidewalks went with pipe jobs and paving jobs. So I can get an answer for you, but I'd want to have our paving manager look at this. Because they're related to other parts of construction, whether that's the paving or the pipe construction as well. So we'll take a look at it and I can give you an answer back.
okay, and just to be clear, so as they're repaving a road, you're doing a sidewalk at the same time,
Correct.
and so some of those are linked. Okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you. Councilor Scott.
Thank you.
And sorry, if I may, if you can, you're on the Facilities Committee, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I guess if you can speak to us about the roofs and what condition they're in.
So in all honesty, and I understand where you're coming from, I completely do. I would have to argue then for the Montello exterior upgrades, because that particularly is actually door frames on Montello School. There are some areas that are rotting, and we're talking safety issue on a door where somebody could get into the building. I mean, that's an $86,000 thing. I think that if we're gonna eliminate, and I think that Bruce would probably agree with me that that's a pretty significant, it's only $86,000, and I get that, that's still a significant number. But it's for this, I mean, I don't want there to be any compromise to any doors at any school, especially in the environment that we're living in the world we're living in today. I think that I think it would be unfortunate about the modulars. I know that for a fact that Principal Gish at Geiger School has put off this particular LCIP for many, many years because of arguments about budgets in past LCIPs. But if I had to fight for one, it would be that Montello exterior upgrade where I would be concerned about safety on that particular one. So that's my argument for that piece.
And as you're getting information about modulars, can we also know about the roof? Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned if the roof, if there's no roof, what's the point? So yeah, I'd be concerned about if the roof is in a situation where we need extensive repairs or replacement.
You were talking about cutting that additional $300,000 from the Montello roof.
It's in fund all of it next year.
I think
Because
we
the
have-
money won't be used till next year anyway.
I believe we have some work already scheduled, but that was in last year's LCIP.
That's some other stuff
Yeah.
that's coming. I mean, there's quite a long list. I mean, remember, we have 1 million square feet of roof, and some of it is really getting to, life
We'll get it.
expectancy.
I guess I want to know, can we wait on a roof?
I will ask all those questions. We'll
We
get the answers.
can, I think one of the reasons we proposed not funding half of Montello is because we can wait for another year. We're not going to be able to get all of these projects done this year, but knowing that next year's funding with the LCIP and with the budget, I'm skeptical is going to be any better than this year's.
Gentle words.
So, I mean, we need to we're feeling like we need to be proactive about trying to at least have something in place so that we know that we can at least get the projects designed and get them bid so that we can actually move forward with them. Roofing replacement doesn't just happen, as you know. You know only too well. So.
Administrator Hunter, a quick question. So for the Public Works fueling station design construction, part of the reason we're doing that is because we're up against some regulatory considerations. Is that accurate, or?
That's correct.
Okay. Like we're being forced to do that?
It is a state mandate. State and
Okay.
federal, Marion? Both? Both, I believe.
Okay.
Probably a pass-through mandate.
Thank you. Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. Mr. Damon, I just wanted to understand the Montello School roofing. So they had recommended deferring half of it. Is that because you couldn't get the entire thing redone this year, or so is the other half already scheduled, or anything?
It was just trying to push it out into a 2-year cycle as much as anything. I mean, like I said, we know that this is a 5-year planning document. And, if there are some of these projects that you'd like to get them designed and get them bid so that you know that you're going to hopefully have the funding to pull them off when you have the ability to do it. This year, we're already too close to the end of the construction cycle for this year to do all of this roof work. So we've got some other things that are slightly more critical, but we felt that this was an approach to help reduce the LCIP request, just to spread it out. We watched, many projects, like the fire stations and everything else. They start and it takes 3 years to fund them. Well, that's what we're trying to do with some of this, try to help ease the burden a little bit this year, but knowing that the cost is not going down. Actually, the cost of, like, even doing the roof on Dingley, over the last 5 years, while it's been trying to get to a point of being funded, has nearly doubled, which is not in anybody's best interest, but it's just the nature of the beast. I mean, we're just, we're just watching the escalation of all this stuff. If we don't get proactive about taking care of this stuff, we're just going to fall further and further behind. It's going to be harder and harder to explain to the taxpayers and to the council, why it's costing so much to keep these buildings. The buildings get old quickly. You know, stop to think about Montello. When was Montello built? The 60s. It's more than 50 years old. You know, the high school is 50 years old this year, and some of the roof is original. 50 years. How many of you have a home that has a roof on it that's 50 years old that you haven't replaced?
36. To get some of that roofing for the replacement.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, these buildings, and a lot of that stuff that's just, it's kind of just, we've watched it just kind of walk down
Thank
this.
you. Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Damon.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Just to kind of recap here, Councillor, or did you have something first, Councillor McCarthy?
Yeah, real quick.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is directed to Director Hunter, Administrator Hunter. I'll get it right. It's getting late in the evening. A couple of things. Could we get an updated FY 2025 LCIP?
2025?
Yes,
Okay.
because we're working on 2024, correct?
Correct, I just want to make
I just want to see the big projects that are being projected for next year that we're going to be up against.
Yep.
And the other thing that I would like to see, I emailed you today, and you probably didn't have a chance to look at it, but...
Actually, I did respond. It's okay. It was probably as you were eating before the meeting. Just doing a quick snapshot for the last 5 years.
Yep.
It's running roughly about $500,000 over a 5-year period that we're able to defer. What we typically do is wait to make sure there's no cost overruns and things, and then carry the surplus monies forward to the next LCIP and reduce that. So I'm wondering if the school department has any of those fundings available. I know the superintendent has sent me a transfer that's going to be on the first meeting in June for a capital project, but I know Tracy's been working with their business office to see what potentially surplus proceeds, accumulated interest, bond premium that may be used to fund some of these as well.
So you issue the total bonds that are authorized each year?
Unless we know for sure a project is not going to go, or
Okay.
that if they've been efficient about getting the RFPs and for all design, construction and everything, and they clearly came in under, then yes. It was more advantageous to the city to issue when the rates were low, and then carry those surplus forward. Now the rates overall are still fairly low. Ironically, talking to the bond advisor, going long in this particular case actually is more advantageous to us because, the longer yield curves are showing lower interest rates.
Okay, so in reality, just for talking points, if we authorize $12 million, you'll be bonding $12 million this year.
At this point.
Okay, thank you.
So just to recap, Director Bruncheck, you're going to be getting us some info on sidewalks, what sidewalks might be affected. And then Councillor Scott, you'll be getting back to us about roofs, modulars.
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Lots of stuff?
If you don't mind, I'd like to suggest that Mr. Damon and myself reach out to the facilities director.
Yep.
And we'll make that call tomorrow to put together a quick meeting so that we can get exact numbers and exact information, get that out to you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Further discussion on the LCIP. We are now up to reports and updates.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Damon, thank you very much, and thank you for your service to our city and schools. Yes, reports and updates. Councillor Scott.
So there was a school committee meeting last night. I have yet to have a chance to watch it on YouTube because I joined you all at the joint meeting in Auburn, so I wasn't able to attend that. I will say that today we did have the top 10 luncheon at the Green Ladle for the students that made top 10 with their parents, and it was a phenomenal event. The mayor was in attendance as well, and I think the best part of all that, not just the pride in the kids, but seeing those parents and the pride on their faces when their kids are up there talking about where they're going to school and where they've been accepted. It was pretty impressive. Our valedictorian has been accepted for a biology major at Yale University. We had another student that was accepted. I remember I told you that there was one that was accepted to Maine Maritime. This one, he had the chance to go to either, what was it, Virginia? It was a military school. It was like one of the top military naval academies in the world.
Annapolis.
Annapolis, yes, and then also the, I forget the name,
Merchant
Merchant Marine one
Yep,
that's in New York, and that's the one he chose. And I mean, it was just phenomenal. They're all going to college. They all had good careers and things that they were moving forward to. So that's my report tonight. The kids are amazing.
Just to echo that, yeah, no, I was happy to address everyone, and yeah, no, it was an amazing group of kids, and I thought it was really nice that the superintendent brought up all the parents to recognize them. Further reports and updates. Nothing from finance.
Just plodding along, spending as little money as we have to.
Music to my ears. Now we're up to new business. Is there any? And I will say, Madam Deputy Clerk, I appreciate your help this evening. A round of applause for our deputy.
Yay!
You know, I hardly even missed Kathy, so, you know.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Kelly does.
Madam Clerk, I love you. And I believe now we're up for executive sessions.
Yes.
Yes.
Item number 23, executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Section 405-6C, to discuss an economic development issue of which the premature disclosure of the information would prejudice the competitive bargaining position of the city.
Yes, we have Councilor Pease, seconded by Councilor Clement. Are we doing both, or are we just doing one and then moving into the other?
We'll do one and then move into the other.
Okay. Please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5? Yes. Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Good night, Lewiston. We're heading into a couple executive sessions, and then we will not be returning. Have a wonderful evening. I mean, we'll be returning.